Welcome everyone to Unlock Alabama's. I believe this is our eighth Lunch and Learn. We're very excited to have Mr. Ben G. Kaiser join us today. Ben is a content creator and founder of Kaiser Media Agency, where he helps companies and entrepreneurs turn their expertise into effective video and digital content. Ben also helps creative professionals choose the right tech and tools for their field so that they can create free of technical constraints. In addition, Ben is also a content creator, contracted with Innovation Portal, a social media influencer, and an entrepreneur. And in case you didn't know, Ben is also YouTube famous. Ben, we're very excited to have you on for our Lunch and Learn.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I am much more of an interactive person. So as we go through, I do have something that I really find valuable with clients and in how I create my work. So I'm going to share that with y'all. But more than anything, I want to answer valuable questions that you guys have. You guys can learn anywhere at any time on YouTube. There's information galore. But what often is missing is a direct answer to a question that you have that's personal to you. And I feel like in this moment, that's where I can be very valuable.
Awesome. So everyone knows Ben said, "Don't be shy." So if you have questions,
Please.
please feel free to come off of mute and ask him directly. So Ben, one thing I was digging through, doing my research, and I think what's very cool about you is that you've been at this YouTube game for a very long time. 9 years. You have this magical number of 2,222 videos uploaded, and I did a math on that, and that's 21 videos a month, roughly, which equates to roughly 246 videos a year. How important is consistency in content creation?
I think that is the ultimate storytelling hack. And what I have behind me is what I consider my pillar content flywheel. I hope this is dark enough for y'all to see it, but basically, this is what has helped me to produce that much content. And when we think about telling a story, especially on social media, a story is the sum of its parts more than when you go to the theater. I just went and watched Hail Mary, and you're there immersed in one singular story that whole time versus content consumption. You're constantly being fed multiple stories, ideas, ideologies, information, how-to videos. And so when somebody experiences what you are doing on social media, what you're promoting, they are experiencing your story along a bunch of other stories. And so how I often have looked at storytelling is the different pieces that make up the ultimate narrative that I am producing. Now, I can use my review content as something where I review laptops and I'm helping people understand how to do something with their laptop. I'm helping them understand what the specific technical specifications are. Then I'm helping them understand the lineup, all the different choices they might have. And then we'll dive deep into a specific device, a dedicated review. And so each of those pillars make up my content and help them ultimately fit inside of the story from a device standpoint that best answers their question. Story often gets a confusing rap when it comes to business because, again, I use the example of Hail Mary. We're going to the theater to watch a specific story. But when it comes to business, it's how do we tell that story in a way that matters to somebody? And one of the biggest unlocks for me is this idea of daydreaming. And I know I'm kind of transitioning away from your question, but I'm going to get back to it. The whole goal of product promotion and product story is to get somebody to daydream about what it would be like to ultimately purchase that product, to ultimately take part in your service that you offer, or have you as a consultant in their business. And so the different pieces of content you put out should be telling a story about a customer you have, about how you work with a client, and that way they're tailored to that specific person daydreaming about working with you. Okay, we get to the consistency question. But I wanted to put that framework out there before I started talking about this. So this is where the flywheel really allows you to work on consistency. It's often hard to do the same thing over and over again, but if you have this variety, you can really capitalize on putting out consistent content. So, for instance, let's say one of these pillars is interviews. Okay, one of these pillars is how-to content. One of these pillars is going to be, give me a second. How-to content. interviews, how-to content, and then we have personality. This one is really good because you think about personality, you think about like the Mac versus PC. Those were very personality-oriented pieces. They weren't telling you about the product. They were just telling you a story about what it's like to experience one product versus another. And interviews are going to be something along the lines of you're interviewing somebody who uses your product or has the same problem that your product solves. And then lastly, the one that we have is just straight like educational. So you're talking about what you do, different than how you might use something. And so by accessing these different pillars, you can then start writing ideas into them. And then these all feed down into here, and then ultimately get your flywheel spinning where you have loads and loads, thousands and thousands of pieces of content where people get to know about you. And so if you have these pillars, whenever you have an idea, you can then write your ideas into these pillars, and then you always have something to talk about. And there's how you produce an exorbitant amount of content.
Wow, I think that's really amazing that one, you've come up with a system, and two, you've made it very clear visually on how to break and segment um, different pieces of content. I think what's also cool, and this flows into my next question too, is that you've come up with this system, but you wouldn't have been able to come up with a system if not for experimentation first.
Yeah.
So so what is your mindset around experimentation, especially when starting off early?
So if you look at my first video, it's first of all, it's garbage. Second of all, it's not even close to what I do now. I was simply trying to explore what it meant to have a business on the internet. And so my first 100 pieces of content are completely unrelated to what I now have a popular YouTube channel for. In fact, those videos are still on my channel. You can still go to oldest video and watch my original video. And I was originally trying to promote courses for jobs in the future. I saw that technology was growing very fast and I wanted to be a resource for people to know what they should take online courses for to then have a secure job in the future, right? It was a hypothesis. Totally bombed, but it allowed me to understand how to research something, how to explain it clearly, how to take the time to be consistent posting video. And through those 100 pieces of content, though I don't do that anymore, I learned how to deliver something in a clear fashion. And so that's where getting started and just consistent putting out reps in like a gym is the best way to do it. I just put out on my LinkedIn, if you're interested in putting out consistent content, the way I started was a 30-day challenge for myself. And on LinkedIn, I put out a 30-day challenge with questions that you can answer and post a video or a written piece of content on your own. And so they're very simple questions about how to get to know you and how to get to know your product or business that you're working on. And that for me was what set me off on this trajectory. I ended up doing 60 days. So I just kind of kept going. And these are working days. This isn't like on the weekend. I took the weekend off. But I put out a piece of content every day for 60 days. And then I kind of paced myself a little bit from there. And I was at like the maybe 3 to 4, maybe 5 pieces of content. Well, no, 5 would be the full week. So 3 to 4 pieces of content a week. And so, yeah, it's just committing to that consistency. You're not really looking for a result. You're looking for getting into the gym and becoming fit and strong at making content.
I love that analogy. It makes a lot of sense about putting in the reps. You're getting better each time and learning from your previous rep or your previous session, quote unquote, at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you, or I should rephrase this question. What are your tips for people that are nervous about being on camera? I've noticed from you're a really good listener. And when I've seen the content on Innovation Portal, you're interviewing different guests, different participants for the Innovation Portal's programs. You do a really good job at helping people open up. Yeah, what are your tips for helping people become more comfortable on camera, and and talking openly and freely?
So I think
So
one
I
thing I
think one thing I
discovered
discovered.
during my journey of making content is that if you can talk to somebody and the camera is merely present, it makes that more of a conversation. And that is what I do a lot of times with my professional clients. is that I will set up, like you saw the innovation portal content, I set up 2 cameras off to the side, and then what they're doing is they're talking to me about this business or process or idea rather than talking to the camera. It is very difficult to talk to an inanimate object. I've done it, as you've seen, well over 2,000 times, and I still get nervous on film days. I was still terribly nervous this morning. I was texting with my wife. I was like, "Hey, sorry I was weird this morning. Like, I'm really nervous about this presentation. I don't even know what to expect, but I want to come in there and bring value." And so nervousness is not something that I think will ever go away. I still dread film days 2,000 videos later. I think it's the practice so that even though you're nervous, you can focus on the delivery of what you're saying rather than, oh, how's my hair look? Am I sounding like a fool? What's this? What's that? The reps give you confidence that you can do it, even though for me, I'm always still a little nervous to do it.
I appreciate that honesty, and I think acknowledgement of the feeling too, but knowing that the confidence lies in the amount of reps that you've put in prior to, and really focusing on the delivery as you said. I think this is probably a whiteboard moment question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some in your mind? What are some really good key components of storytelling that most people don't focus on? A lot of people have different you pull from different frameworks such as the hero's
Mhm.
journey, such as like I think the star method for answering questions. For you, what are some of your favorite components for telling a really good story?
To me, the most important thing is where are you going to end up? Because I think the problem that I've always had with storytelling is I always think too big. And when you can really process where are you going to end up? What is the person you are talking to or the person who's watching this video? What is their ultimate aim in watching this piece of content? My stories were always so simple in my review content because the ultimate aim of the viewer was to make a good decision. Their story was that they're afraid to waste their money. And so my goal in building content around tech content was not to sell anything. It was to paint the picture of how that device will meet a need, maybe not their need. And I think that's the thing that really I got strong in, and others I hope would get strong in as well. You want to talk to your specific target audience and really kind of ignore everybody else. Because what happens is when you try to think about telling a story, you think about yourself too much. You think about, okay, how does my product or what I'm doing matter to the world? Well, it's not going to matter to the world. It's going to matter to a specific group of people. And earlier, I used the example of getting somebody to daydream about it. I, for probably 20 years, have been in love with the Subaru WRX STI since I was probably like 12 years old. I have daydreamed about driving or owning that car for 20 years. And this past year, I finally was able to purchase one. It's not like I bought a Porsche or a Lamborghini. My dream car was a Subaru WRX. And what that meant to me was uniqueness, legacy, character. All these words kind of float around in my head when I reflect on why I wanted it so badly. I like the rumble of the engine. I like the feeling and the shape of the car, right? All of these intangible items are what make up the story of why I wanted that vehicle. Somebody might want the quiet, smooth, futuristic tech feel of a Tesla, right? That might be the story that they live into. I wanted to live into a story of uniqueness. I do a lot of things because I want to be unique, and my wife kind of laughs at me. But really, what I'm getting at with this idea of story is like when we focus so much on like, what's this huge, amazing, magical journey, it's really hard to translate that into business a lot of times. And so I always say, like, if I'm trying to help somebody tell a story about their product or service, I say either what was your journey? Why did this product or service make sense for you? Or tell me about 3 to 4 of your favorite customers and how accessing your product or your service transformed their life or really took them to the next level. I don't focus so much on like story frameworks as much as focusing on the person and really bringing that into the messaging. I hope that is clear.
Yeah, that's crystal clear. And I'll let to focus on the end user, and especially with the intangibles, because all those items do make up the story. And I think that also leads into my next question too about um, converting, because you're also a business owner. You help convert um, from a story to something that enables businesses to enable them to get traction, to get their focused or their target audience, target user, target customer to click on their call to action. What are some tips that our audience can take away for creating content that converts for our audience?
How okay, so let me first of all, let me ask this question. So, everybody in the room, if you don't mind, either turning on your mic or turning on your camera. I feel like I'm talking to space right now because I don't really know what any of you are doing. So if you wouldn't mind, just give me like a 30-second highlight of like maybe do you have a product? Do you have a service? Do you like are you a consultant? Like where are you at? I'm curious.
Hello, Ben. My name is Zinat. I'm currently a senior in college studying biomedical engineering, and
Okay.
I'm also an intern at Innovation Portal. And I'm
Okay.
currently building a product called Paper Play that helps researchers to break down research papers, articles, not necessarily researchers, but anybody that is very inquisitive about learning more about a paper or an article. It helps you break down, and afterwards, you take quizzes and all. So, yeah, that's basically it.
Is take a complicated research paper, break it down, be able to explain it to you in a more,
Yeah, simplified
clear
manner.
way,
Hmm.
and then pitch to you some questions to make sure you understand the content.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Cool. All right, somebody else. Thank you. Thank you so much, Zinat.
Hello, my name is Natasha Mohammed. I'm a junior cybersecurity major at Talladega College. I'm also an intern with Fuel Alabama, and I'm also a part of the Unlock Alabama program. And what I'm working on is Cyber with Nats. That's a YouTube channel dedicated to making others become aware of cybersecurity and putting a twist to it, mixing business and student life, giving career tips. And so far, it's going well, I would say.
Cool. Very cool. All right, I'm gonna
Hey,
start
I'm
calling
sorry.
people. Or
Hey, I'm
Warren. All right, how's it
sorry.
going? Cool.
You all called me? You called me yet? I'm sorry. I had to go to the bathroom.
You're good. You're good. So basically, where are you at in your education journey, and what current product or project are you working on?
Call me. Call me
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Of
Yes,
course.
sir. So my name is Warren Spencer, and I'm a software engineer for Birmingham, Alabama. I graduated from the University of Alabama at Birmingham with a computer science degree with a Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science in 2023. I kind of been working for the experience that been AI related over the past 2 years on the side and everything, and I had a role as an entry level analyst at Global Logic for the Google Gemini project and everything. As far as what I wanted to create, I'm not really decided just yet, but I do have some projects in mind that I've been working on the side, so personal projects on my portfolio, and I've been working on those for a while now, and I'm trying to finish up. But as far as the program is concerned, if we want to work on a project here, I'm still trying to decide what I really want to create. So I
Okay.
believe I want to create something with AI that can help people reach their goals and reach what they want to do in life and help them get somewhere, where AI can have, it'll utilize AI technology to help them get there. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. And last one, if you're available to.
Yeah. Hey Ben. My name is Good Luck. I'm a junior computer science major at Alabama A&M University. I'm originally from Nigeria, and I'm an intern with the Unlock Alabama program. So, I'm working on Chess Blind Spots, and this is a web app directed towards chess players, basically to help them improve their gameplay by analyzing their previous games and trying to find common patterns and common mistakes, then help them to improve on those areas based on the mistakes found.
Okay, very cool. All right, so Emmanuel, that question one more time, just so I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So if I can sum up the question, because I was kind of long-winded, sorry. The question is, how, for our audience members, are there ways for them to create content that converts for their own call to actions, for their yeah, because each of them are unique, and each of them do have unique call to actions. I can speak for our interns in Saskia, good luck, and Zenat, for most of them is using their product and subscribing um to your YouTube channel, or using your app and engaging with it. So that's my question.
So I think one of the big ways to start to understand the language is to understand why the people who are using it are using it. That's the simplest way to go about it, because otherwise you're playing a guessing game of why people might use it. The way I got a lot of the content in the first 5 years of my YouTube channel was answering questions from the audience. And so when you interview somebody or talk to somebody who uses the product, you're going to see either where they have gaps now in their education or in their journey, and then you can also ask them where the gap was before they started working with you or using your product. And through that, you then have those pieces and narratives, and you can even tell those stories in your content. So person X was struggling with this. They didn't know how to get to Y until they found product. And now that they're on the other side of that, this is what their daily life looks like. Now that they can quickly digest research papers, now they're able to present in a more knowledgeable way. Now that they understand cybersecurity better, they can make better decisions when they are A, going through their education, B, creating products, or C, working in their company. Right? So understanding the current customers and how they got there and the ones that are most successful will help you understand how to get more of those people, because ultimately the people using your product, if they're satisfied with it, those are the prime candidates that you need to go look for more of. And so if you're speaking to those stories, you're going to attract more of those people who have a great fit for the product. So that's one of the biggest ways I recommend getting people connected. And then also finding one thing I do with my business side is I find something that I can offer for free to them that gets them to experience fully what working with me and producing content with me can do. And you've heard this, there's two schools of thought. One is don't ever work for free, and one is work for free for the right clients. I believe in work for free for the right clients, because then what you do is they get a full experience of what it's like to work with you. And you've also in stories, like in life, there's also like this reciprocity gap that's created when you do something for somebody else. And then they naturally feel that inclination to need to close that gap. Reciprocity is like the goodwill that was created. So if you do something for somebody in their story, of the story of their life, then you've opened this gap, and they have the desire to reciprocate within that. And so there's sitting down and having those conversations or providing that free product for somebody or a piece of it. Then people say, wow, this brought me so much value. This person like was generous and gave me this. Now they want to close the gap. And that's, again, a piece of the story. And so you got to think about content in regards to just living everyday life. And when we overcomplicate things, that's when I think stories start to actually lose their power, because you're trying too hard to create some magical potion. We just have to think about you as a human. I use the Subaru example because when we are being advertised to, it's so easy to forget that we're being advertised to. The reason I wanted a Subaru and I felt all those things is because that's what they put into the car all those years. When you go to turn around and be the business person, I, like many people, have always kind of lost track of that and trying to think like, well, how do I say this in a way that'll catch their attention? Well, just think about how you feel when a piece of marketing reaches you that connects with you personally. It makes you want to buy it. So let me ask this question. What's something that any of you can answer this. What's something that you have wanted for a very long time? Either you've purchased it or you're still in that story gap where you have not gotten that product or service. Services for businesses are really important.
I think that's a really good question. I never really thought about that. Let me see.
Emmanuel, do you have anything?
I sure do. And so when you talked about cars, I thought about there's this concept car from Hyundai called the Envision 74, and
Okay.
it's a rendition of the old school. I think the GMX, the pony model, but it's like think about the car from Back to the Future, or the car from Back to the Future, but with a hydrogen powered engine. It's it's amazing. So I can't
Okay.
wait till you drop it for an absurd price.
So, what about that car makes sense or doesn't make sense? What about that car speaks to who you are?
I think it's a blend. I like things that blend together. It's a hybrid of you got this old school classic look with tech, and it's not there's not too much going on. When you step inside a car, it's a very clean dash. It's very minimal, but it's under the hood, or yeah, under the hood, it's got this crazy hydrogen engine thing going on with hydrogen powered cells. I have no idea how that works, but it's like it's you when I'm going through the website, like I feel my palms sweat. I can imagine myself driving this car. I see the videos of other people driving, and it's like I want to go to South Korea, and take this out for a spin.
So, I think one thing I would try to identify about you in that story is you're somebody who cares, like me, about legacy, about something that's real and tangible. However, you're in this innovation space. And so you want something that speaks to the fact that you're somebody who is future thinking, who's current, who's present. But you also don't want to give off this idea that you're too futuristic. You want to show that you're rooted. And in a way, I would guess that's why the car speaks to you. That's where it fits into your story. It showcases you as somebody who's real and rugged and raw, but also a futuristic and innovative thinker. And you can straddle the the delta between those two places, and that best represents you.
I think you read my astrology chart or something because you got it down to a T.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the thing is when we're thinking, and this is something, man. I think the hardest thing about story, and I want to be super honest here, is it's something that does not come quickly. It's something that you can't just produce by sitting down with one brainstorming session. Story is something that is produced over a long period of time. And that's what you have to commit to is that long game of taking time to interview people, to talk about the product, to think deeply about the customers that are using it, think deeply about why you're interested in things. And through that, you'll start to see patterns. If you walk away from anything from this lunch and learn, it's that just continue to be more observant of the world, more observant of your buying habits and behaviors, because that is what will make you ultimately a better storyteller. And I want to come up with a new word because I feel like storyteller is often reserved for the people who write books or produce movies. And I want to find a word that fits more into the business world where we're trying to help people understand how something might be a part of their story. We're not being the story. Like we should not be the hero of the story. One of my favorite books that I definitely recommend y'all reading in regards to this is Story Brand. This is great because this helps you understand that you are not the hero of the story, you are the guide, especially in business. And the story, you need to learn. I still need to learn better every day of how do I come alongside my target client and help them understand how I can help them win. Because the problem is when you put two heroes in a story, they're fighting. You no longer have a story, you have a hero and a villain. And so by becoming the guide, and I think the product Steve talked about with the research papers and helping them read them better, you're the guide in that story. You're helping them shine. You're helping them look great. You're helping them become more knowledgeable with simpler ways. They're doing the hard work of going in and finding those research papers, but sometimes they don't have hours and hours and hours to dig through every little nuance and try to understand it so deeply. And so that's where the tool helps kind of surface those really key findings. That's the guide to the hero becoming a smarter individual. And that for me was really a big unlock.
Ben, thank you so much for the gems you've dropped on us today and the resources we can use starting off. And I think one last question I have for you is
Absolutely.
how important is it to use the tools we have right now instead of going out and buying expensive equipment and having like gear acquisition syndrome?
I actually made a whole shirt about that, but that's for another time. So I have built, I would say, a fairly successful business for a one-man show with a handful of contract workers. And I'm somebody who used what I had and acquired very slowly. If you guys have a minute, this is probably one of the greatest things you could remember in starting any business, and it's the 5-year rule. So anything worth doing takes 5 years to really mature. A marriage takes 5 years to really mature. That's when a lot of people start to kind of have challenges in marriages around 5 years because things start to get a little more real. A child, I have 4 children, and the children really start to get a little more difficult and challenging around 5 years because they become a more mature person. They start to have feelings and realize that they have wants and desires. A business usually takes about 5 years, and it goes back to this idea of really understanding the story and figuring out where the wins and the losses, what they add up to, and what they've educated you to understand how this product is going to mature in the long run. And so if you can think about something taking 5 years, you're going to be more conservative on your bets. And so the reason I say that is in regards to gear. If you know that it's going to take 5 years for ultimately you to be successful and have like a strong business, you're not going to go out and drop 20 grand on gear because you'll officially be in debt and you probably won't be able to make that back super quick. But if you realize it'll take 5 years, then you'll be like, okay, let's start with what I have. I'm going to get better here. Okay, look, we got some income. We can save a little bit on the side. I'm going to save up for this camera. And so then over time, as you work towards that 5 years, you start to slowly acquire the things and the tools that you need. Because what will happen is during that 5-year journey, what you thought you needed in the beginning was completely wrong. And so you've spent all that money on something that didn't even align with the ultimate trajectory of the business. And so if you remember the 5-year rule that basically every strong pursuit you do is going to take about 5 years. Think about college. It's a 4-year degree, but by the time you get out and really realize, well, what did I learn? It's about 5 years. And so that's where I've really put my focus is on anything new I start. I set my target for that 5-year mark and say, I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to work slow, be thoughtful, and grow towards that.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your honesty for bringing this conversation down to earth for all of us involved. If you have time, I'd love to open up the floor for anybody who has questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Please don't be shy.
I have told y'all are ready, so I've got nothing for a while after this.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So I'm a new content creator, and I wanted to find out, like, how do you track like which videos are the best to post, or like which ones get the most views? Like, how do you work with the metrics?
Are you on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the most incredible YouTube Studio analytics that
Oh yeah, I downloaded it.
it's insane. So what you want to look for is which videos people are watching and hanging on to. So the average view duration. You want to look for which videos people are commenting on. It doesn't have a lot of views, but it has a lot of comments. You want to take note of that because that shows that there's not only viewership, but also engagement, meaning that has sparked story, that has sparked conversation. And also, like I said earlier, you want to read the comments, or in the middle of a video, say, hey, I'm making videos based on what y'all want. Go ahead and drop a comment. Tell me what you think the next video should be. Never say that at the end. Always say that at, kind of the beginning, the middle. Because a lot of times people don't make it to the end. It's just viewer behavior, right? So that's the biggest thing. And so what I always say is you want to follow this kind of structure. It's test, analyze, repeat. So that's the structure you want to follow. 1, 2, 3. Test, analyze, repeat. And you basically do that over and over for about 9 years. I'm kidding. That's how long I've done it for. You just keep doing that. Test, analyze, repeat. Test, analyze, repeat. Test, analyze, repeat. Over and over. So you're always trying something new. Like if it bombs, great. You either the presentation wasn't right or the concept wasn't right. And so you're constantly mixing ideas with concepts, with recommendations. And also I would look at other industries. I think that's a big thing. I've often looked at other verticals or niches and think, okay, how does that apply to tech? How can I take that idea and mix it into tech, right? But ultimately, remember, like you're answering people's questions, and that's really, in regards to especially your niche with like data security and helping people get better at it and understand things. Answering specific questions from your audience. I mean, that's the best way to grow a real, authentic audience that wants your help. But just dig into the YouTube Studio and check out views, check out view duration, and just explore the analytics. You'll be surprised what you find in there. It's wildly interesting because you'll see where people are watching from. So like the different demographics, if they're male or female, there's so many gems in that. But if you have a follow-up question on that, I'd be happy to answer that as well.
Yeah. So I'm also doing cybersecurity contents, but I also wanted to talk about like career tips and grad school tips. But I'm not sure like how do I structure the channel? That's what I was thinking. Like how do I get across all the contents and make it still pleasing for the audience? I don't know.
So that's where like your pillars come in, right? So think about your pillars. Okay, so you're gonna have like how-tos, right? How to stay more secure online. You're gonna have like educational tips on how to succeed well at college. Give me some other things. What else do you want to talk about?
Student life
Student life. So student life.
and business, like some maybe companies that were hacked before and how they recovered, that kind of stuff.
That's really good. That's telling other people's story. So that's the thing is, how do all of these play together in a way that brings value? But I think the biggest thing, reacting to different stories, is a really cool, really great way to do it, because that's kind of current news, like hot news. And so if you can kind of spin yourself into those pop culture moments, that's really strong. And yeah, so basically what you could do for this is you could just create like different playlists. So YouTube allows you to create playlists and just have your different playlists where you're housing these different pillars. And then you can also like cut that down into shorter content. Have you ever heard of Opus Clip?
No, that one is quite new.
Opus Clip is something where you can take your long form videos, drop it in, and it'll create short form videos for you automatically. That's a really great tool. So then again, you can start to get those short form pieces of content out without like having to create short forms and long forms. But yeah, these different pillars are going to be the way you can organize it. And then once you have a pillar, then you can just start to jot down your ideas inside the pillar. And then if you ever need to have an idea because you're like struggling to come up with a video that day, well, you've already wrote down all these ideas inside of these pillars. And so then you're just like ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I have a book where I write down what I want to do and all that stuff for my channel because I like to write.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank
Cool.
you so much
Yeah, of
for
course.
the info.
Yeah, definitely.
I think what I like is you're able to give us these very small, actionable insights and make it very easy for us to get started. I think my favorite takeaway is answering people's questions. It's so simple, but I see how like valuable it can be, especially for people that are too shy to ask questions or comment publicly. You answering someone else's question is going to give value across, and from there, it seems like a natural spring wheel where more questions will start to bubble up, and then you've got more. You just have like multiple paths to go to walk towards after that. So that's gonna be my favorite takeaway from this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a self-fulfilling. Oh man, this is even better. Okay. So here we go. If you can go to a channel that's like yours, I don't have to write this down. I don't know why I switched cameras. If you can go to a channel that's like yours and go into the comment section and see what questions they're asking in those channels. Because people might not engage, maybe you're a smaller channel. I was a smaller channel for a long time. I'm still considering myself a smaller channel. But if you can go to the like 100,000 plus subscribers, million subscriber channels and see the questions people are asking about said topic, that's a gold mine. Because maybe that person on that big channel doesn't have time to answer that question because they have their plan and trajectory of all the videos they want to make. And so that's a great way to find out what type of content to make is review the comment sections of more popular influencers than yourself.
That's a very new perspective. Thank you.
Yeah. I also would remake videos that were about the same thing, but for my niche. So for instance, I reviewed laptops for creative professionals. That's what I do. But somebody like Linus Tech Tips would review laptops for gamers. But the way you use a device for gamers is very different than how you use a device for creators. So what I would do is I would take all his research and all of the things that he said, and I would explain to people what that means and how that relates to buying a laptop as a creative professional. So I'm not sure how that aligns in your niche, but perhaps there's somebody who you look up to who's very knowledgeable, but they talk to a different audience. And so how can you take the information that they're sharing, translate it through your expertise, and then share it with your audience in a way that makes sense for them? That
Yeah,
was really helpful.
yeah, that's interesting too because when I was conducting my user interviews, I gathered information and they told me like you should take advice like from larger content creators, but don't make it as similar to theirs. Like be your own authentic self. If
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the concept of great artists steal. Nothing is original. There's nothing new under the sun, but everything is a remix. So if everything is a remix, how do you remix what's great and then apply it to what you do?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You got me taking notes like crazy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I work every day to continue to communicate clearly. I love my interviews because I like asking questions, and I'm less often on this side of the camera in regards to what I do. I've reviewed tech for so long, so to be totally honest, I'm nervous when these conversations happen because I've had less practice with this type of communication, sharing concepts, sharing how to do things, how to be effective, how to tell a story. I've used the concepts for a long time, but I've never had to actually explain how I use them. So appreciate that it's coming across well.
Yeah, thank you for for sharing your knowledge and expertise and wisdom you've accumulated over the years, especially for our group in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other? I'm serious. Any other questions? Anything personally that you want to ask or dive into? I'm more than happy.
I think that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I definitely connected with you on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Yeah. If you have any further questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome, Zanette. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you, Ben. I'm sure I'll follow it with some personal questions myself.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to chat another time or stay on here? I mean, seriously, whatever. I've got another 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll go ahead and end the recording, and yeah, I'll continue the conversation.
Cool. Sounds good.